So what's coming beyond the brave? Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that Kaiba button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. So you might not have known this, but Konami has set us up for another one of their little patterns. And this time the pattern is actually showcasing to us that we might be actually seeing Kaiba as the third installment of these packs. Now, limited edition pack 3 featured Yugi and then Joey, which is where we're at right now, which brings us to the possibility of, are we going to see the legendary Blue Eyes retrain? And I don't... Here's the problem with wanting to see a Blue Eyes retrain at this point. We already have done Blue Eyes after Blue Eyes after Blue Eyes at this point. I think it's time that we kind of have to take a step back and go visit the other cool things that Kaiba had. You might not know this, but Kaiba actually did have more than just Blue Eyes White Dragon in his deck. Some of the cool things that Kaiba had, he had access to Soggy the Dark Clown and Crush Card Virus. Many of you guys remember how iconic Crush Card was in just a lot of the duels itself, but the question here becomes, you know, these have been manga inspired sets, so why Kaiba did use some of these particular cards, there's just an entire gap of discussion here about, you know, where we can kind of go from here. So traditionally, I mean, Kaiba kind of got benched in his duel against Pegasus, you know, from the Toon Madness, which was that. Kaiba had access to Obelisk Tormentor, but you would have thinked if we were going to try to do Egyptian God retrains that we would have started with Yugi, we would have started and kind of branched out from there, but that's not been the case, you know. So I think to say, like, you know, we could technically create a theme for the Egyptian gods. I think it would be kind of cool to see a creation of like an obelisk hybrid deck for Kaiba to be able to use, but the way that the manga cards are working, there has to be a center anchor point. Now, Blue Eyes White Dragon does technically count as one of those centralized anchor points, but Obelisk Tormentor is the only other anchor point that I could think of that Kaiba would be able to work with. And it doesn't make sense when, you know, you go into Yugi and we have the Mind Shuffle. You know, you go into Joey and his iconic card is the Time Wizard. Kaiba's iconic card just happens to be either Blue Eyes White Dragon or Obelisk the Tormentor. So, you know, it kind of comes down to how you would incorporate working around those cards. There is not to say that, I mean, Kaiba also handed Yugi the Devil's Sanctuary card, which was also kind of an interesting little gimmick. We're not going to hate on that idea, but that was a topic of, you know, discussion to be had with that. Honestly, it's kind of sad to think about, because, like, when you look at Kaiba's identity as a whole within the universe, there's not a lot else that you can really work with. Now, there was the possibility of Chaos Emperor Dragon. A few interesting topics of conversation have come up around just this card being a possibility for Kaiba to use. And you did just make a Blackluster Soldier retrain, the Blackluster Soldier to work with the Mind Shuffle. I hate to say it, but we could actually see a Chaos Emperor support-like card coming down here to work with Kaiba. There's also the topic of conversation as to where we could see the manga stuff for Kaiba come into play. We still have the looming discussion of what are we going to do with Cubics, because remember, Cubics just celebrated 10 years, literally, a couple months ago. So back in April of 2026 here was the 10-year anniversary for the Dark Side of Dimensions movie. And we've not really We've not really done anything with that just yet. It does kind of leave a little bit of a void in my heart. Now, obviously, that'd be a perfect discussion, right? You could dip a little bit further into the timeline here and do something with that. But once again, Obelisk the Tormentor and Blue Eyes White Dragon remind you that they are the anchor. So it's just, I'm having a hard time finding a broken point within the deck that Konami could do. They could also go even further back with Blue Eyes. One of the things that we have not done for Blue Eyes as a whole has been the Bandai Unchained Blue Eyes. You know, the chain spell card that actually holds the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon together in the manga. And I would very much love to see that. Actually, that might be the place that Konami goes to. They go so far back, they go into Season 0, and they bring up the chained Blue Eyes card. Because that's the only real thing that you could really try to do right now, would be bring that up to speed and showcase, you know, hey, this is a completely new Blue Eyes deck. You're allowed to do some crazy things. They also did just make that trap card that allows you to bring out a massive amount of normal monsters from the hand or the graveyard. Having that card exist does kind of open up some topics of conversation of, you know, where are we planning to go with the existence of this card? You know, you got to give Konami a little bit of credit. They might not look it, but they are very, very far ahead in terms of where they want to take these themes. You know, they have an idea, and obviously we're celebrating 30 years of Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, granted, we're still missing a metric crap ton of details to kind of facilitate, you know, the discussion of, you know, where are we going to take this, because, you know, each and every month we're supposed to get a little bit more details, but it's still kind of hazy with what they're trying to do here. So I think Kaiba is next. The other thing is, like, if we want to do every single good character, we could also put Mai on the pack. There has been a topic of conversation about wanting to see Harpies. I remember Rush Duel just printed Harpy cards, and they were extremely good cards. Like, those cards actually did a lot for Rush Duel in terms of facilitating the meta. So after Kaiba, we might, I mean, are there 8 Duel Monsters characters that you could think of that we'd want to put on a pack? Because, like, Yugi, Joey, Kaiba, and then we hit Mai. I don't think we'll do Taya Tristan. There's also, I don't think they would do Pegasus, because he's going in the Revolution booster. But Merrick could be another hot topic of conversation. Merrick had the entire Evil Fiend thing going on, and I think that that would be a really, really cool inclusion that they could kind of build into the deck itself. Like, think about that. Think about Merrick coming along. We could also, I don't think we would do Noah because we're focusing on the manga side of things right now. Obviously, you know, Noah and Darts would be sick cover cards. I don't think anybody would really, well, nobody would complain about seeing an Orichalcos theme finally coming to fruition that, you know, you could actually utilize and be able to do things with. I think that would be absolutely sick, but it's just, I don't know if it's in the cards right now with the current thing. I also don't know how long we're going to focus on these manga, you know, where we're at right now. You know, are we going to go back to GX? You know, are we going to pick 4 of these and do them every year? I don't know. It's Kaiba's probably next, though. So I guess this is the, I hope you've got your Kaiba cards to kind of get ready for what's come, because honestly, I'm kind of excited about this. I've been wanting to see some Kaiba discussion for a little while, and I think that that would be an actual, you know, sick topic. You know, give us the chained Blue Eye stuff so we can actually, you know, have some fun with that. That would just be, that'd make a lot of people's days. So please, leave a comment down below. Where do you guys think we're going after Beyond the Brave? And you guys have a good rest of your day, alright? Patrons! Thank you!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.